What's up, guys? I'm Chris, and today you're watching a magic review on Quantum by Electricks. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. If you haven't, please consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. Any questions or comments, just ask them in the comment section below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss a video or review. Also, join the Chris Edwards Magic Secret Access group over on Facebook. Alright, so today we are looking at Quantum by Electricks. So what is Quantum? Well, this is more than just a forcing device, but that is, I'd say, the primary purpose is it enables you to force a number. Now, for many years, I have used Cypher on my phone to basically do the same thing. However, this is a physical version that everybody is familiar with. Maybe not everybody, maybe not the younger generation who only use cell phones now, but with that, if they haven't used a calculator, I'm sure they've seen one or heard of one. So first off, this is a forcing utility device. Now, that is not the only thing it does. This also has mini apps built in. This will communicate with a number of different products, such as other quantum devices, a Peaksmith, your SB watch, the Atom remote, and I think Bond by Electricks. So I'm just going to go over the different functions that this can do. And it says more coming soon, so this is something that I think there will be ongoing updates and features that will be added over time as well. But first off, you have Q-Force, which works to force a number. So you would pass this around, ask them to input 3 digits, times it, go to the next person, ask them to put some in, go to the next person, ask them, and when you hit equals, they're going to get your force number. Now, it can be as simple as that, but you also have the ability to go into the app, set your force number, and then also set a force range so that if you're worried about your force number not being believable, right? So if your force number is in the millions, but somebody adds 3 2-digit numbers and it comes up millions, like that's not going to look believable. So it waits until it's within that force range, and you can set it to whatever you want. If you want it so that no matter what, when you hit equals, then you can do that. But if you want it to be more believable, you have that option as well. Now, the next mini app is called Q Mirror, which is something you would use with 2 quantum devices. So you could have one that you give to, an audience member. You could have the other, and whatever they input will show up on your screen. Now, if you don't want to buy 2 quantums and do that, you also have the ability of seeing their input numbers on your Peaksmith. After that, you have Q-Type, which allows you to use this as a Bluetooth keyboard or controller. Next is Q-Sequence, which allows you to assign different actions that will happen dependent on which numbers are pressed. And finally, you have Q-Fate, which is the illusion of choice. On top of that, there is also integrations with other products and apps, one of them being the SB watch, which I have here, another being the Peaksmith, which I won't show. And then I believe they are working on integrations with other apps from different creators as well. So just for an example, one of the ways that I've used this, more than just to force a number, is I've had my Peaksmith on me and I will have them enter their birthday. As they enter that, I get the information. So now I know their birthday. I can divine their star sign, right? I have them pass it to another person where they times it by a 3-digit number and get my force number. So now not only have I got my force number out there, but I've also received information that I shouldn't know. So you can find different ways to use this as more than just a forcing device, right? It's also a peak device and a number of other things. So that's what it is. Now, what do you get? So it depends on which bundle you purchase, or if you purchase a bundle. I'll go over that more in pricing. But if you just get the standard quantum device, you will get the calculator itself, and it will come in a box like this, which does not say quantum, right? It looks like a box that would be hanging on a rack at the store. Inside the box is obviously the calculator, but then you're also going to get a wireless charger. So this has wireless charging. Now, Electricks have still added some features that don't function, but make this look like a real standard everyday calculator. such as the solar panel here, and even, there it is, a little battery port. I still need to throw a battery in there. It won't do anything, but it's just, another level of believability in case. Now, speaking of charge, this will have about an 8-hour continuous use, which you will never use this continuously for 8 hours, but that's what it's rated as. And then it will take about 1 hour for a full charge. And it is recommended to charge this before every performance, which you should be doing with all your electronics anyway, just to secure the level of reliability, right? The last thing you want is your electronics dying mid-performance. So what's the quality? So this thing is sturdy. It feels really good. It's not heavy, but it's not like a light, cheap plastic calculator. Now, the buttons all feel good. They all work. I don't really know what to say. Like, it's a calculator, and that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. That's what it is. But as far as quality, yes, it's extremely well made. So here's a close-up. And then on the back, you even have, like, copywriting and stuff that has nothing to do with Electricks or Quantum, but just that added touch where it's not just a blank back. It's got the product brand and 1-year warranty. It's other information that you would find on a calculator. So they've added all the little features. And then it works like a standard calculator, right? If you don't want to use it as a forcing device at first, you can use it as a regular calculator. There are different ways to activate the mini apps that you want to use. I used the Peaksmith app just because I found that to be the easiest, right? It's visual. I go into the app. I got all my options right there. That's the easiest approach. However, you can do everything on here as well. So if you want to set a force number, you can do that just on here. But again, I find it easier just to go into the Peaksmith app. Now, I'm unsure if you need to own a Peaksmith to access the Peaksmith app, probably. But I would talk to the guys at Electricks and just see, because if you don't have a Peaksmith, I still do find that is the most convenient way to set this up. Difficulty level. So I'll kind of touch on that with tutorial. The tutorial, you'll get a QR code that'll take you to the website. There's a whole bunch of different videos on there that go over all the different mini apps, how it works with Peaksmith, how to charge it, how to turn it on, how to turn it off, different settings. So there's everything that you need there. Now, when it comes to anything tech, I am not the sharpest. Okay, so a lot of the time I don't review Magic apps anymore because honestly it takes me forever to get it working, and then to actually learn it to a point where I'm fluid with it, it takes me forever. I struggle quite a bit with tech. With this, I had zero issues. Everything was straightforward, easy to understand. There are things that this can do that I don't understand, right? Because it does go into things that are a lot more technical than my understanding. So for those of you who are developers or have a better understanding of tech, this will do even more than what I can just tell you now. And it's stuff that I will probably never understand, so that's why I didn't hold off on reviewing it so that I could learn all the intricacies, because I just won't be able to, and this review would come out in 3 years. I think that this functions as a lot more than what I'm able to do, but I can still give you an understanding of most of the features. So difficulty tutorial, it's all really good. The tutorial is more so just how to get this up and running, right? This is something where you're already going to know what you're going to use it for, how you're going to use it, right? There's not a bunch of routines that are taught or anything like that. And then you'll also get access to a Facebook users group, and actually 2 groups. One is for Quantum owners and the other is something called Magiscript, and that's the stuff that I really don't understand, right? So if you're familiar with that, this works with that stuff too, and that's really all I can say. Angles, absolutely nothing to worry about here with angles. Everything can be seen from any direction. Setup and reset. Instant reset. Setup is just, if you're using the Peaksmith app like I did, to set this up as a forcing device, it took a couple minutes just to get everything connected. And then once you've done that, you're good to go from there on out. Changing your force number can be done in seconds. And if you're not using the app, like I mentioned before, you can designate a force number just by using this, but you can also do that permanently so that, when it's turned off and turned on, that forcing number will still be in play. Or you can assign a temporary one if you're just doing something on the fly. So you do have a lot of options in each app as well. And when I say apps, it all runs out of one app, but they're mini apps that are activated within the calculator. Examination. So can it be examined? Yes, this looks, feels, sounds, everything like a normal calculator would. There's nothing suspicious about it. Pocket space. So that's where, we'll touch on this, on who would use this, but this isn't something you'd carry in your pocket. It is a big calculator. Now, I'm not sure if they plan on releasing a smaller version, but I kind of doubt it, because even a pocket calculator, it's not something that people just carry around on them anymore. Maybe at one point in time, but now with phones, everybody has a calculator on them, and everybody always has their phone on them. So I can't see them releasing a smaller version. So with that said, who will use this? I would say the stage and parlor performer, right? This isn't for strolling. This isn't for walk around. If you're doing a close-up show where you're stationary, then of course you can use this close-up too, right? But for the most part, I would say stage, parlor, or close-up stationary show. Now for me, this is something I'm going to use because, like I said, I have a routine in my mentalism show where I, have a number predicted. In the end, there's a kicker ending and all that, but I use Cypher on my phone. Now, I've never had anybody call me out and say, oh, it's an app on the phone, or, oh, it's anything to do with the phone. I haven't had that happen, but I don't doubt that there are people in the audience that think that it could have to do with the phone, because phones can do a lot of things these days, right? So I'm going to be using this for sure. The way I'm going to present it is, when I start the routine, I'm going to say we need to come up with a number and we need it to be random. And I thought about using my phone, but with phones and technology and AI and everything these days, I don't want people to think that, I'm doing something on my phone. So I went out and bought an antique, as most people would call it these days, because nobody really uses these anymore, and you wouldn't believe how hard it is to come across one of these in a store. But I found one, and it's perfect because I'm going to pass this around and get a few people to input different numbers. So, that's my basic presentation. That's not probably the script I'll use, but I just thought about how can I incorporate this to make it make sense. Why am I carrying a calculator? Before, that would make perfect sense, right? But I feel like I want to add that little bit of patter there, because if I don't use a phone, some people think, well, why wouldn't you just use a phone? If I do use a phone, some people might think it has to do with the phone. So I want to get away from that. And I don't think this needs justification, but I think I'll get a laugh out of saying something like, you wouldn't believe how hard these are to find in the store anymore these days. And it's part of my performing style to throw some comedy into my set, so it works. Is this practical? Is it a worker? I think it's completely practical, if you're a stage or parlor performer. And I think that people who purchase this likely will be some type of working performer. I think that it's a great tool that can do a number of different things really well. So I think if you're a performer who puts on shows, then 100% this will go into your working set or be used by a working professional. So what's the price, and is it worth your money? Now, like I said, I think the people who purchase this will be working performers. It's not overly expensive for everything that it can do. When you consider peak devices, like anything electronic, you're often looking at, anywhere from $100 to multiple hundreds of dollars. This is really no different. It's not overly expensive for an electronic device that can do all the things it can, but it's not something cheap where it's like a hobbyist who just performs here and there. Maybe they're performing for people, maybe not. They're probably not going to pick this up. So I'll go over a couple different options you have. So first off, I have the white version. This will come in white or black. You have that option. If you are just getting one quantum device, it'll cost you $277. Now, first off, the first prices I'm going to list are the sale prices because there's a sale going on. So $277 for the quantum, normally $297. If you want one quantum and one matching ungimmicked calculator, again, $277 while it's on sale. After the sale ends, it goes up to $327. And if you want two gimmicked quantums, the sale price right now is $497, regular $594. So you're saving over $100 if you get the two. Positives, negatives. So the positives, this can do more than just force, right? It can peek, it can communicate with other devices, other apps. It can relay secret information to you. It looks, feels good. It's very well made. The charge is going to last a long time. It's easy to use, easy to understand, and it's a physical object that most of the time you need to use a phone with an app or something like that. So it's different. Negatives. So this will be too big for some people, right? And I've explained why I think that is, why I don't think there'll be a pocket version. It just doesn't make sense to make a pocket version when everybody has a cell phone. So if you're a strolling performer and you don't do stationary shows where you're set in one place and have people watching you, then this is probably not something you're going to use. The other thing is that it is not overly cheap. I think the price is well justified and very reasonable for what it is and what it can do. When you think of different peak devices, like the Peaksmith, for example, which is great and works with a whole bunch of different things, it's not cheap, but it gets the job done and it does it well. When you think of electronic impression devices, they're not cheap, but they get the job done well. Some of them, right? Some not so much. But when you think electronics, you're often always paying more for the electronic version over a non-electronic version. So yes, this isn't cheap, but it is affordable and it is very reasonable for everything it does. So with that, I think I've covered everything I can. Like I said, there is more to this than I know and will probably ever know. So if you are kind of on the tech side of things, you'll be able to do more with this than I can. But I think for the most part, I get the basic understanding of what you can do with this, and I think it's great. So with that, if you have any questions, maybe something I didn't cover or forgot to mention, just ask me in the comments section. I will do my best to find out the answer. If I don't have it, I'll reach out and try to get you an answer. I'll leave a link in the description below. And with that, we'll see you at the next review.